This time on The Adventures of Tarka. I show Tarka's newest crew member what sailing on the open ocean is like. We do some kite surfing off the dinghy, and I make some unexpected discoveries around the boat. Neighbors come and go here in Bonaire. Since there's no anchoring allowed, the moorings are in high demand and there aren't very many of them. If you can't find one, you're pretty much SOL. Hence, scenes like this one are pretty common. A free mooring just doesn't last very long. Most of my neighbors tend to be reminders that Tarka is very much a small boat. But you know what? I get the same view as the big boys, so does it really matter? Then there are some truly massive sailboats that make all the boats here look small. This is one cruise ship that I didn't mind so much. There are some subtle differences to living on a boat as compared to land. Like, I never used to find dead fish in my car, except for that one crazy ex. Usually it's just an unlucky flying fish, or sometimes a ballyhoo. But on one occasion I found this guy floating by. Just found this guy floating in the ocean. You're not allowed to kill them here without a permit, although they're an invasive species and they don't belong here and they do a lot of damage. You're still not allowed to kill them without a permit. Pretty fish. Don't want it to be here. Sadly though, there are no effective strategies to eliminating them from the Caribbean at this time. So, for now at least, they're an unfortunate reality. Well, here in Bonaire, I've been using Tarka as my primary vehicle to explore the island, and I hope it helps make me a better sailor. Nushta claims that she wants to join me for the upcoming Pacific crossing, but given that she doesn't really have any ocean sailing experience, it's hard for me to get too hopeful just yet. However, we have been doing a lot of sailing together, which has just been fantastic. But these sailing conditions are ideal. To give her a basic idea of what she was signing up for, we took Tarka just south of the protection offered by the island. Here we were exposed to the ocean's swell, but still close to the safety of land. Let's see this again. That's good. Needless to say, we really both should have had our harnesses on, and this would be the first and the absolute last time where we weren't both harnessed in. I have to say though, Nushta took the waves in stride, and didn't seem to be deterred at all by the prospect of what lies ahead. Are you having fun?
Yeah. So these are small waves.
Oh, now we're getting into waves. I think the real test though, is will she be able to handle living on a small boat with this crazy guy? With our mission accomplished for the day, we enjoyed a fast sail up the island with only the jib out. In 25 knots we really don't need anything else, and Tarka behaves very well with only her jib out anyway. Also, Bonaire doesn't offer much in the way of navigational hazards, so we took her in close and shallow. However, I think I sometimes need to focus more on the boat and less on the camera work. Are you Try to take a film, drive in shallow water at the same time. In the shallows, we found a nice spot and grabbed a mooring. You know, I'm always looking for new ways to look like an idiot when jumping in the water.
Ooh, it's windy.
And by that criteria, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. In addition to getting a much-needed haircut, I have also continued with my diving. All of these moorings that we've been picking up are dive moorings after all, so we might as well use them for actually diving from time to time. Don't get me wrong, snorkeling is great, but diving provides a much more intimate look at the reefs. It's a totally alien environment, and yet, somehow, it's completely relaxing. I don't think I'll ever carry dive tanks on the boat, but man, would it make bottom work so much easier. We've also been using Tarka as a mobile kite surfing platform.
There you go. I got you.
We're only allowed to kite in the dark blue water here, so there's no launching from the shore. I have never kited in my life, but Nushta is a competent kite surfer. Though she is teaching me the basics, Bonaire isn't exactly a safe place to learn to kite without a reliable dinghy. So my turn on the board is just going to have to wait. But there are still exciting things happening. Nushta has decided to move aboard. This is a big step for both of us. I have spent a year alone on the boat now, and I've never had to share such a small space with someone else. Meanwhile, Nushta has, of course, never lived on a boat. But crew also come with baggage. Tarka is a small boat, and looking at this pile of stuff, I had no idea where any of it would go. First though, I had to get it all to the boat without any of it, or me, going for a swim.
Oh wait, do you need to come aboard too? Oh yeah, thanks for all your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't do anything with it.
Finding room for Nushta's belongings meant that it was time to make some sacrifices, and I did my best to unload anything superfluous. But space is also an issue, and there just wasn't room any longer for the guitar. So with one last performance, and no, you don't want to hear it, I took the guitar to shore to hand it over to its new owner. For sure though, the benefits of no longer being alone on the boat outweigh, so to speak, any sacrifices. Below Tarka, the underwater world continues to be both amazing and surprising. This ball of baitfish were making quite the commotion, so I went out to investigate. It turns out they were being preyed on by a school of much larger baitfish, and we're using Tarka as protection. And once I got in the water, they used me as protection as well. Some barjacks arrived and took over the feeding frenzy. Meanwhile, the needlefish staked out the surface. And this little guy was very lucky to get away from the jaws of death. Nature is pretty cool sometimes, and it was certainly fascinating to watch. While snorkeling, we have also come across some pretty cool things, like these coral trees, which is yet another way that endangered staghorn and elkhorn corals are grown here before being transplanted to the reef. Sometimes our snorkel sessions don't go quite as planned though. And while we were mesmerized by these comb jellies, we both soon realized that we were surrounded by them and getting stung. I fared okay, but Nushta had a reaction to the stings that we did try to quell with some diluted vinegar. It works a treat, but it sure doesn't smell so great.
It's true.
I also had to say farewell to Shelley and her little boat Northwind. To see them off, I came out in the dinghy, and of course, I flew the drone. With the help of a friend, Shelley's heading out on a 6-day passage to Sandblast to explore that paradise and tie up for the upcoming hurricane season. I do suspect, though, that our boats will cross paths again someday. By the way, if I ever seek employment as a drone pilot, I'll have to add flying out of the dinghy to my resume. I won't lie, Bonaire has been a wonderful escape from the realities of ocean passage making. And given that my introduction to sailing began with some serious offshore legs, the fact that I am now diddle-daddling around in perfect conditions on flat water makes it feel like maybe this adventure would make more sense if played in reverse. But I guess the reality is a far more interesting story. And it's about to get a whole lot more interesting. We will soon be making the downwind passage to neighboring Curacao, and what I can only assume will be a miserable one back upwind, to give Nushta a more accurate sense of what future passages will be like. However, before any of that happens, I'll have to face a challenge I never thought I would.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
But all of that will have to wait until next time.
We